Hey, everybody. My name is Jonathan Lunsford, and I'm with my good friend and former co-worker,
Jason Becker. Hello, everyone.
And Jason and I are in the process of putting a podcast together. And Jay and I both are, for those of you who know us, would probably know me more as John and him as J-Beck. So you're going to hear Jason or J-Beck. I'm sure anybody that we interview or talk to during this podcast will refer to us as John and or J-Beck. But it's just the way it was. And so what we're doing is we're putting a podcast together. Jay reached out to me, I don't know, a year ago or so, and started talking about a podcast that was along the lines of just he and I. He lives in New York, I live in Louisiana, and was going to have to do this over the phone and internet. And so we've spent a better part of a year tweaking the idea of what we want to do with a podcast. What is the purpose? Why are we doing it?
Yeah, it's been a while. But I'm glad we're finally here, brother.
Right.
I really am.
And so then you mentioned that we do kind of a Rebel versus a Yankees perspective, because I'm a Southerner and you're a Northerner, and so and it was just a live podcast. We're just talking about what's going on, and then it kind of morphed into talking about being veterans or being in the military or just daily life and everything.
Yep.
And then one day I said, so basically you want to talk about the crap that we talked about on the smoke deck. And then you said, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so then we were hammering the name down. I said, well, we smoked on the 04 level aft. So let's name
that was the name right there.
Yeah. As soon as I said
the name right there. Yeah.
It just clicked. So we've been working and fighting, not fighting each other, but we've been just trying to get this process started. And so again, my name is Jonathan Lunsford. I was a fire control technician with CF Division on the USS Lake Champlain. I arrived to the ship in June of 99, and I got out of the Navy in September of 2003. I was there for 2 deployments. I did the 2000 cruise, and then I did the immediate post 9/11 cruise. We left in November and was gone for 7+ months. I got to the ship as a seaman and left the ship as an E5 FC2 surface warfare qualified, and I wound up spending 4+ years, 4 years and change on the Lake Champlain. And as I was telling Jay at the beginning of it before we started, I spent more time on that ship than I did in high school, and the relationships that I created on that ship are and were very important in making me who I am as a man, as a person, and some good, some bad. So, so I just wanted to kind of give you a rundown of who I was on that ship. And Jay, who are you?
Oh man, where do I start? Well, Jay Becker. I was born and raised in Syracuse, New York. I joined the military in '97. Did my A school in Chicago, Illinois, and well, actually, it was a little bit north of Chicago. Great Mistakes is what we called it, our A school. Then I went to C school in San Diego and went to the Lake Champlain. I did a 2000 cruise, and also, just like Jonathan, the post 9/11 cruise. Left as an E5 surface warfare, just like Jonathan, and spent more time on that ship than I did in high school, just like Jonathan. It was a good time. And honestly, the smoke deck, I'm pretty sure Jonathan will agree, is a place where a lot of sailors went to decompress. You didn't even have to smoke to be there, just to hang around with other sailors and talk and just blow off steam from the day, because there's not really that much to do out in the middle of the ocean. But I'm just glad that we're able to finally do this, and hopefully we can contact ex-sailors while we're doing this, bro, and we can create more friendships out of this.
Oh yeah, and rekindle old friendships. There's another one. So, but
that's what I'm looking for.
So
there's a couple that have been on my mind to try to reach out and find.
Right, and so this podcast is called 04 Level Aft. It's just we're going to shoot for an hour or change, maybe a little longer. We're kind of playing this out. We're going to fill it as it goes. If it winds up being hour and a half episodes, then that's what it is. We're going to kind of fill it out to see how it goes. This is a pre-episode or preseason is what we're calling it. It's just a way of kind of letting you guys know we're here, we're existing, this is what we're doing.
It's about to begin.
Yeah, about to begin. And then so this will be on most of the podcast platforms: Spotify, YouTube, Pandora, Apple. The majority of them that I can get on to and get this loaded up on, it will be. So this is kind of a way we want you guys, if you listen to podcasts, to go ahead and get ready, download it, like it, and subscribe to it. That way, when they start dropping them here in the next month or so, you guys can start enjoying it.
Jonathan, also, you made up a Facebook page, didn't you?
I did. It is 04 or 04 level aft. 04 level aft, just like the name of this, 04 level aft. And I was thinking about this, Jay. I remember in boot camp, when I got to boot camp, and they were making us scream out our serial numbers, our social security numbers. They said there's no O's in our social security number. So we had to say with a 0 instead of O. But then the other day I was thinking that 04 level aft. Shouldn't it be 04 level aft? So I realized that because we actually have created some stuff and in the O, if you punch in O, it won't work. You have to punch in a 0. So it's just going to be kind of one of them things we're running into. But this is not a Lake Champlain podcast. This is not a Navy podcast. However, the first section of it will probably be both Navy and Lake Champlain almost exclusively, but we want everybody to feel this is a military. This is not just a dad podcast. This is a veteran podcast. We're for veterans and just having friendships, relationships, and having a good time.
You're right. Absolutely. All branches are welcome.
Yeah. Even the coasties. Even the coast.
Even though the Navy's the best. I mean, it's just, call a spade a spade.
Hey, we have a retired senior chief from the Coast Guard that goes to our church. And I spoke to him this morning about helping out with some intros and everything. And he said, hey, he goes, you have to represent the Coast Guard. I said, yes, sir. I will tell you this. I will say this right now, and as soon as the episodes start, I'll delete this episode anyway because it won't be on here forever. So I might not ever say it again. So if you only hear it here, you only hear it here. Coast Guard is one of the baddest branches in all the military. 100%.
Baddest as in good or baddest as in bad?
Awesome. Just freaking crazy, awesome people. And I've seen them do some stuff live in person, and I give them a lot of props. And they always get forgotten because they're not DOD, but they deserve it. So,
what about the space program?
Well, yeah.
Are we going to include the space program too?
If it's there, 100%. It's DOD, so why not? I don't know how that works, and I don't know what's going on with that.
Can we have an asterisk next to that?
I don't know, man. I don't know because it's a corps like the Marine Corps is. It's part of the Department of Air Force, so I don't know how. At least that's what I've been understanding. I don't know exactly how that works.
When did it actually start?
I think it already has.
Oh.
So I'm not 100% sure.
What are they building, like spaceships like Star Trek up there?
I think it's all like I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's all like radars and satellites and stuff, just looking at it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
So my brother is an officer in the Air Force, my baby brother, and he was explaining some of it to me that it's mostly just telemetry and satellites and stuff like that, astronauts and whatnot. So as of right now, but he actually had an option to go into the Space Force and decided not to, stayed in the Air Force. So
not as badass as our Aegis radar on our ships.
No, that was pretty slick.
Right there.
It's hard to. That's why people are worried about North Korea, and I'm not, because I know what Aegis is.
Link 17, baby. No, Link 11. Link 11.
Yeah. Oh man, you're bringing up some good stuff. Okay, so what brought up the idea of the podcast? Where did this come from? Go ahead and explain that.
Jonathan also has another podcast called Under the Cloud. Very good podcast. If you're able, look it up, listen to it. It's awesome. I, on the other hand, also have another podcast called I Am My Brother's Keeper. And I reached out to Jonathan, like I said, about a year ago, and I asked him if he wanted to do one together. And like he said earlier, it's been about a year, and finally we're doing our first episode here. I think it's going pretty good.
Yeah, so far. And so he'd reached out, and like he said, I have a podcast. I actually have two other podcasts, but they're both faith-based, Christian, church-based stuff. And so for this one, we're trying to come up with something, like he said, that was more just general topic. What we're going to talk about is can be anything from how's it been, or to, there may be something pop up in the world going on, and we can find some experts to talk about it. We already have some people. I already have a couple guys in mind and in the works to talk about stuff like the VA, how to deal with the VA, maybe get you some little things here and there, and go from there. So, but
absolutely. I mean, the interviews that we're going to do, they're not going to be specifically towards veterans. I mean, they're not going to be just veterans. There's probably going to be guys that work for the VA, guys that do things for veterans that aren't themselves veterans.
Right.
So it's going to be like that. It's going to be nice. It's going to be awesome. And some information that can maybe help these guys or vets, period, to do what needs to be done. Maybe get a couple percentage when it comes to if they got hurt overseas and whatnot, that they don't know how to go about doing that. Right. If you're suffering from PTSD, maybe we can help in aiding you to push you towards the right direction and to get help with that.
Right. Yeah.
So that kind of stuff. I'm looking forward to that too.
Yeah. But then also like things like you keep seeing it on TV. Like, were you in the boot camp? Did you mess with AFFF? And we're going to get some people on that understands what that means. You can break that down so that people can know whether or not to even mess with it. I personally did not mess with AFFF, but maybe one time ever.
Right.
So I'm not concerned with it, but I know that there's a lot of those guys that work down below that did spend a lot of time messing with it. So maybe there's some questions that they have. We can have an expert, and you can go from there. What's really cool about podcasting, for those of you who don't know, what's really cool about podcasting is once we record it, we put it up on the internet. You guys can listen to it at your leisure. As long as everything goes good, no big problems over the next few years, this thing will be on that page for decades. And so an episode that we do in the middle of June in 2025, you can listen to it 10 years later, and so you can have a lot of fun with that. So some of the information may not be relevant anymore, but that's what's neat about it. Unlike radio, where if you're not tuned in at that moment, you miss it. So at least this way we get the opportunity to record it, and then people can listen to it later on. So like I said, I wanted to explain that this is fluid. This is something that we're working on, and we can move around, change things, be led by the viewers, by the listeners, and come up with different ideas, and we'll try things. If it works, it works. We'll try it. If it doesn't work, we'll never do it again. So there may be times where we do stuff and y'all are just kind of cringing, and that hopefully will be the last time that ever happens.
Right.
So but you never know. There's a good chance that we screw this up. So this is a lot of fun. So we're going to give it a shot.
Just like go 4 level aft on the ship, man. All the talking back and forth. There was always friends that say, "Hey, maybe you should try this. Hey, maybe you should try that."
Right.
Hey, what's happening? What's happening in your life right now is because of this. So we can feed off of one another. It doesn't matter if we know them or not. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
If they don't like something and it's valid, then we'll be like, okay, we won't do that.
Right.
But other than that, man, I think I'm just really looking forward to meeting new people and catching up with old folk, like you were saying.
Oh yeah. So one of the things that we're going to do is everything's fluid. So what I say now might not last, but we are going to try to do seasons. We're going to try to do so many episodes, and we're going to take a break and come back for another season and do it long that. Instead of doing like maybe Joe Rogan does, where he does so many episodes a week, every week, and there's no break between season 1 and season 2. So during those,
oh God, no, man, we wouldn't be able to do that. I got 4. By the way, I'm married with 4 kids, and Jonathan's married and has 18 kids. So
I only have 5 kids. I only got 5.
I'm a plumber. He's a lineman. So we got a lot of stuff happening. But we are going to try to do. Yeah, how many episodes do you think you want to do in a season?
I don't know. I was thinking 12. The number 12 keeps popping in my mind. So we'll
Tom
figure
Brady's
this out.
number.
Oh, well, never mind. We'll come up with a different number. We'll come up with something different. We'll figure something out. Like, so here's the fun thing about this. I remember during the banter on the smoke deck and talking, there was this individual, and for those of you who were around the Lake Champlain during the 2000 to 2004 era will remember a guy named Steve McAvoy. Steve McAvoy was he didn't join the Navy till he was in his late 20s, and so therefore he was the old man in the group.
He was the old fart.
But he wasn't old. He was when I was 20.
But back then we thought it was. When you're 18 and someone's 22, you're like, oh dang, bro, you're getting up there.
So one of the things that he did, and I was he taught me how to play golf. He taught me how to play cards better. I learned a lot of like just normal life things from him. He gave me advice, and I looked at him and said, "No, I'm not doing that." A few times, and I'm glad that I didn't do that a few times. But it was a great time. But he came up to me one day on the smoke deck. Actually, it might have been on the Fantail then, but we won't talk about the Fantail smoke deck. That was he
Smoke
said
deck
back then. He talked about the Texas A&M being his favorite team, and at the time they were in the Big 12, and Georgia was my favorite team, and it's an SEC. And so he come to me with this agreement that I would always root for A&M, and he would always root for Georgia. And it was a fantastic idea. I loved it. I didn't have any dogs in the fight when the Big 12. I didn't care about any. I didn't hate Texas and Oklahoma, and now they're in the SEC. But I didn't like them, but whatever. And I thought this sounds so awesome. I love this idea. And if I ain't bad mistaken, you were standing there, or you were around while we were talking about it. And so that's when I picked up Syracuse as my Big East school, which is now in the ACC. And then we picked up Arizona State from Chris Dale, who was out of Phoenix. So Arizona State was that group. And then one guy chimed in and said, "What about Ohio State?" And we all laughed at him and said, "No." and so I
remember that.
I don't remember who it was though. I do not remember who it was. But there was a guy that chimed in and said, "Hey, what about Iowa?" And I said, "100%, I'll pick up Iowa." So Iowa was always my Big Ten school. Now North Carolina is my ACC school, but Syracuse is right there at the top. And I root for them. I wear the hat because you sent me one. I wear it. And it's those relationships we built in the Navy 20 plus years ago that are still impacting us today. And so it'd be nice to reach back and have a reunion of sorts with people, find out what's been going on in their life. I can promise you with what I know through Facebook, through Instagram, or just through phone calls, a lot of the brothers that we served with on the ship have gone through some really bad things. And so sometimes what we're wanting to do is rekindle friendships to help people. And if anything, to get some good dirt, get some good stories on J-Beck or myself, and to just have fun, just have a blast, and make it to the point where I can't smoke another cigarette, but I don't want to leave the smoke deck and just sit up there and talk.
Which happened a lot.
There was
happened a lot.
There was times I stayed up there so long that I smoked like 5 cigarettes, like in 2 hours up there talking the whole time.
Easy.
Yeah, just half a pack. Easy. I don't smoke anymore. I'm going to tell you this. July 5th, which was just a couple days ago. This won't be released for a little bit, but July 5th of 2006 was the last time I touched alcohol. I've been sober ever since. I'm 18 years now. And then it was in June of 2007 when I put tobacco down for the final time. And and the only thing I miss is a good cigarette every now and then. I tell you what, I want one so bad sometimes it's not even funny. Now, I have not had a cigar in this entire time. But if you and I ever get together, I will smoke a cigar. I've said I will do that. So,
if we have the capability of inserting a noise right there, it should be a round of applause. Honestly.
So let's talk about that.
Seriously, congratulations, man. That's huge.
Oh yeah, we had a really bad 4th of July that year, and I decided to take a break, and I just never went back. So,
wow, good for you.
So. As of right now, we're going to be doing this strictly audio. We're not going with Skype. We're not going with YouTube just yet. There may be down the road where we have the funds and the ability to go with doing Skype videos or YouTube videos, and you guys can literally watch it instead of just listening. But as of now, for season 1, that we're going to stick with this, what you're hearing and what's nice about this is that while you're mowing your yard, while you're tinkering, driving to and from work, you can listen to us and remember how stupid we were.
We'll try not to talk too long either.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee we won't.
Guarantee. And then on
Dude, you remember the kind of conversations we had on the smoke deck? Like, it could be stupid, like leaves.
oh man. And then we needed that though. We needed those
Yeah.
times of having, when you're especially on deployment, you needed those times where you could have the most ridiculous. Remember, I don't know if you were part of that group, but there was a group of us that were plotting a bank robbery just to come up with something to talk about, like just trying to figure out what I'm just for something to think about. We had this whole idea kind of planned out.
A
Like
bunch
we
of
was gonna
sailors plotting out the perfect crime. Yeah.
I remember one time. Hey, okay. I'm divulging way too much. But one time we essentially wrote a book without writing the book. And it was that sailors just went missing on the ship. And they couldn't figure out what it was. And at the end of it, we found out it was the captain that was pushing people off. Oh, it was. It took us like a month. And we were just like brainstorming this idea. And I wish somebody would have wrote all that stuff down. And that'd have been fantastic. So, but I'm looking at my notes here. We're at 22 minutes or so we need to get going here. We don't want to keep you too long today. So I'm looking at my notes. So one of the things that we have on here is that for the first season, we're kind of sort of going to dedicate season one to both of our dearest friends from the Lake Champlain, of Maurice Sullivan, who was a computer tech on the ship, who passed away a couple year or so ago, in a very tragic situation. We won't get into details. Well, there will be an episode that's dedicated strictly to Mo, and we'll find out more about that as that time comes. And also Gunner's mate, who later on became a Navy SEAL, and his name was Eduardo Valadez. He passed away a few years back. They said it was a heart attack or something. He had passed peacefully in his sleep. I do know that. But neither of those were suicides. Neither of those were those tragic type, but they were tragic because they were our really close friends and we spent a lot of time with them. And it broke my heart to hear about both Mo and Val passing away. And it really stinks because, we're only 45 and 46. And then our friends our age is starting to pass away, and still as they're passing away at our age, it's not normal causes. It's always something crazy. So we just wanted to take the time to dedicate season one to Eduardo Valadez and Maurice Sullivan, and what they meant to us. And like I said, we will spend at least an episode of this season on one episode on each of them and talk about them and what they meant and the impact they had to the people around them.
Big Val and I, it was actually a group of us. I'm not gonna talk about this a lot because I want to save it for his episode. But we got into a really big brawl in Bahrain. All of us.
Got in a big brawl in Australia too. Nearly got me killed.
We didn't talk about how we met.
Oh no, we didn't. We can save that for episode one.
We save it for an episode. It's a funny story, everyone. I'm going to tell it. It's going to be good. Awesome. Jonathan doesn't remember it the way I remember it, so I think his story and my story, somewhere in between the middle there, is the truth. So,
right. So let me look at my notes here. I got to stick with my notes. We're running out of time. We don't want to tear you guys, keep you guys too long. Okay, so we kind of run down what the podcast is going to be about. I do want to. I am 45. I'm not as naive and silly as I used to be. However, I'm still naive and silly. I still love dad jokes. I have 5 kids. I'm a dad, so I have to love dad jokes. And so some things that we're going to do might come off as gimmicky or silly, and we don't want to deter people, but we also want to be true to who we are at the same time. And so there's going to be people who aren't going to listen to us because of it's us, and that's fine. There's going to be people who are on the fence, and we don't want to knock you off the fence. We want you to jump on our side and listen and enjoy and have a good time. So what we've done is we have an email, which is 04level@gmail.com. So it is, remember, 04 level for you non-Navy people, 04 level, spelled out fully, level aft, AFT, at gmail.com. Send us an idea, send us feedback. say it sounds good, bad idea, you guys are idiots, we love you, whatever it takes. And we'll go through those. And if you guys have sea stories about us that you want us to talk about, or if you have stories or memories, write them in there and let us know, and we'll try to we'll filter them. And if we don't want to talk about it, we might not, especially if they're negative stories.
Let us know who you are.
Yeah,
Where you served, when you served on, and we'll give you a shout out.
Yeah, even if you weren't with us and you didn't serve with us, you was a Marine, you was a Army or whatever, Green Beret, or or a pilot in the Air Force or whatever. Just give us a shout and let us know. Send us an email, and we'll give you a hat tip, because that's what we love to do. But also, if you guys come up with some ideas, if we get gimmicky and you say, hey, this ain't working, this is silly, we will consider what you're saying. We won't just dismiss it. Is what I'm trying to get at. One of the things that we want to do is we're going to, I don't know. Like I said, it's kind of fluid, so we'll kind of fill it out. So I'm not going to say how it's going to go, because we'll just fill it out as it goes. I'm probably hoping to get a guest for episode 1, so that way it makes it go a little quicker, a little neater. And also, as this is something I want to be very candid about this. This is something Jay and I have debated back and forth for weeks now, and that is whether or not it would be okay for us to ask for donations. So what I did was I created a Cash App site, and it's the same thing. It's the 04 Level Aft with 04 Level Aft. If you guys are, if you want to contribute, you can contribute. If you don't, that's fine. I'm not going to be mad if you do. I'm not going to ask permission, or I'm not going to ask for before you get to say anything that you have contributed. That's not the way this works. We will shut that down. We will not take over amounts of money. We just basically wouldn't mind having a little nicer mixer and computer, and I wouldn't mind having a little nicer microphone. But Jay and I are both blue collar guys, and we can't quit our jobs to do this, and so we have to work. So it kind of limits us a little
Especially
bit.
Jonathan, because he's got 18 kids.
I got
So,
5. And 2 of them are in college now. So yay! So now I only got 3 at the house.
Yeah, I got 4. The oldest is starting college next year. So
you're a union plumber.
I am a union plumber.
Okay.
Go local 81.
81. I am a lineman for a co-op in Southwest Louisiana. I'm originally from North Georgia and Western North Carolina. And then while I was in the Navy, I met a girl in A school in June of 1998. And that girl was from Louisiana, and we've been married. Next week will be 24 years. And we've been married this whole time, and she's put up with me and vice versa, and we've been making it work. And I just wanted to give a shout out to those.
A saint.
And
she is a saint.
So Jay
Saint.
And Jay is one of about 4 people that I know that knew both of us before we knew each other.
She's a good girl.
That's weird, ain't it? You and Bruce Taylor and a couple other people knew her before I knew her, and I've known
Bruce.
Her. Yeah, Bruce.
Dude, I want to talk to Bruce again, man.
Hey, he don't know it yet, but he's coming. So
he has no choice.
That's a big episode right there. So anyway, hey guys, we appreciate you taking the time and listening. This went way longer than we wanted it to, and that's just what we knew was going to happen. It's starting to thunder bump here in Louisiana, and so you got any parting words?
I'm just grateful that you took time out of your day, because I know there is a lot of podcasts out there. I'm just glad and thankful that you decided to listen to ours, and I hope you continue to listen, because we're going to have some pretty good content, and we're just going to have fun, man, just like the Smoke Deck.
Right. And we're not going to do an episode a day, so when they come out, we hope that you guys can take the time and listen and enjoy. We're not going to try to overdo it, but like Jay just said, there are a million podcasts out there, and even the Sopranos have a podcast. The Cheers has a podcast, and so I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to us, 2 idiots, talk about the life that we had in the military and then afterwards, and what it means to us, and we appreciate it completely. Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
Yep. God bless. Y'all have a wonderful day, and see you on the next one.